Am I the butthole for taking back my nephew's Christmas present and giving it to my son? My sister and I have always had a strained relationship. I usually just let things go and try to keep the peace. We both have sons who are around the same age. My nephew is 13 and my son just turned 11. For my son's birthday, I bought him the new gaming system he has been wanting. He was absolutely thrilled and he plays nonstop. My sister is bad with money. I usually have to lend her money for bills and stuff for my nephew. I know my nephew doesn't always get the best Christmas gifts, so this year I went a little crazy and I purchased the same gaming system for him for Christmas. I already had it ready and wrapped under my tree. Yesterday my sister's family came to visit. My son asked me if they could go play video games. I said yes and reminded them to be careful. About 30 minutes later my son comes running to me crying. I asked him what was wrong and he led me to the front hall. When we get to the stairs I see the new system smashed on the floor. Someone had thrown it from the upstairs and it was now smashed to pieces. I asked my son what happened and he sobbed and pointed at his cousin. I asked my nephew if he did this and he started to laugh. He said that it was a stupid baby toy and that he saw people break them online. My sister came in and I told her what happened. I explained that this was an expensive system and that her son needs to be disciplined for what he did. I told her I wanted her to pay for what her son broke. She laughed and said no. She says I shouldn't have let them play unsupervised. That it was my fault and that I am a bad parent. She said my son will get over it and that it was not important. Seeing my son sitting on the ground next to his broken system trying to put the pieces back together tore my heart out. I walked over to the Christmas tree and grabbed the system that was meant for my nephew. I pulled the gift wrap off and gave it to son and told him to go upstairs and set it up. My sister asked me why I was making such a big deal when I had another one already. I then laughed and told her that was her son's Christmas gift. That since it wasn't important and it was just a stupid baby toy, then they obviously won't miss it. I then told them to leave. My nephew realized what happened and began to cry that my son had stolen his system. I said no, his was the one that he smashed. My sister was livid and told me that I will never see them again. I just said okay and slammed the door. Other family members have now been calling me non-stop and saying I am in butthole and that I ruined my nephew's Christmas. I don't think so though. My nephew is 13. He is not a stupid kid and he knew what he was doing. I don't care that it was over jealousy, he is old enough to know better. My sister was not going to make the situation right, so I just did what I had to do. They all think I should buy another new system for him, but I don't have that kind of money. I'm starting to feel bad about this and I am wondering, am I the butthole? NTA, your sister's terrible parenting ruined her kid's Christmas. Your nephew's jealousy ruined his own Christmas. It's entirely possible that your sister has spun a lie to the extended family, so be sure the flying monkeys have the full story in your responses to them. What part of my nephew deliberately smashing my son's console, telling us he'd seen it done online, and insulting the gaming system is acceptable in your eyes? How is my sister refusing to take responsibility for the damage or for disciplining her son acceptable in your eyes? I bought 2 consoles, my nephew deliberately smashed one, I won't be buying a third. If you think that sort of behavior deserves to be rewarded, feel free to buy a console for nephew yourself. That's a great response. I might just use that. I think she is telling our family a lie about what happened to make herself the victim. She is kind of known for this kind of thing. Tell them the whole story then. I'm always baffled when folks don't think to defend themselves or tell the whole story, and allow others to bully them for their response. I really hope they take this advice. I think it gets to be exhausting to always have to explain things, especially when everyone else is so quick to defend the jerk sibling / parent / friend / whatever. The non-jerk just sort of gives up after a while. Yep. Exactly this. Despite the fact someone is known to lie and play the victim, people still believe them for whatever reason. Misguided notions of family, I suppose, or just being stupid / gullible. They've normalized the lies, and in lieu of learning don't stick your hand on the burner, they continue to do so. And we just get tired of trying to correct the record. Don't need to look much farther than current US politics to see a good example of someone constantly lying with people still believing them. It's a first-come first-served type of basis. Those who are the jerk tend to run to others to blab about what the non-jerk did to them so they can get the sympathy first. And because most want to believe our loved ones won't lie to us, and wouldn't make a huge deal about something that isn't true, we tend to believe them. Few people have the resolve and the mentality to ask the other party their side as well and realize the true story most likely lies somewhere in the between. I keep hold of friends who've come to me with, "Hey, C just told me their side of what happened on Saturday, would you like to tell me your side?" It shows me that they're interested in getting the whole story from both sides before making any sort of judgment. I value those people. This absolutely is so true. I had a narc friend in our circle. Every effing time she was horrible to me, she would run to rest of the gang and tell only her version of the story that makes her look like the victim. I never thought I had to share the full story. I never recognized that the holes in the storyline needs to be filled in for others to get the full picture. Until, the last time she did the same thing, she unfortunately did that over WhatsApp. She didn't realize her mistake until I started screenshotting the full conversation with both sides and shared it with the rest of the group. She was kicked out that day and we have been far happier? Probably because people tend to assume the first perspective they receive is the objective truth, considering they have nothing to compare it to. Despite the fact that sometimes, like in this case, they should know better than to trust the source. Not defending them, but I see the majority of people doing this in everyday life and can't help but wonder what life would be like if they didn't take the first perspective they received as a given and actually reserved opinion until they have a clearer picture. This subreddit would likely be deprived of content if people could just learn to do that. And then if you tell them the whole story from your side and they still defend the other person, well, you know you can save some more money by not getting gifts for that person, too. My mom was known for doing this crap. After a while of needing to constantly explain and defend myself to other people who obviously felt I was capable of that bullcrap, I stopped. They can believe whatever lie she told and never question it. WTF is the point. I just cut them all out, easier than constantly needing to defend myself. As someone who is from a family of narcissistic people, it's because when you try to explain, you're bombarded further. It takes a lot to get out of that mindset and stand up for yourself with the whole truth. You've also been shown exactly what your sister thinks of you. My sister is bad with money. I usually have to lend her money for bills and stuff for my nephew. Stop doing this, she doesn't appreciate it. Do not let either of them near you or your child until you get a sincere apology. I completely get wanting to make up for your sister's shortcomings and giving your nephew the best opportunities you can. But he's 13 years old now, which is plenty old enough to know you don't throw an expensive gaming console down the stairs, jealous or not. You tried. It didn't work. Access to your wallet needs to stop here. It seems like the sister is not doing her job of parenting, so you're doing the nephew a favor by teaching him a life lesson. Speaking as someone who's broken some gaming stuff due to some anger issues/undiagnosed ADHD. Stick to your guns, tell the whole story to your family, and you are likely better off without her in your life anyway. Not the butthole. When I turned 14, I got my first job. Nephew can do the same. Right? My kid brother and his wife had a lot of debt when they got married, and sometimes I got my nephew the most expensive gifts they suggested just because I knew they couldn't. But if my brother, or Sil or nephew for that matter, ever disrespected me like this, all generosity would cease. The unmitigated gall of some people. If I could upvote you 50 times, I would. This is spot on. Thanks. I was raised to be a people-pleasing pushover, and it took years before I was able to stop it. I just want other people to not have to go through all that. Same here. I still struggle with it, but I will only help for so long, and if you can't have basic decency to say thank you, bye, I'm over it. Even after that, I would go NC. Yeah, me too. You know sis will be at the door with her hand out in the next couple weeks anyway. Then set the record straight. Her child caused hundreds worth of property damage, she refused to replace it, so you fixed it, and you're not rewarding him for destruction of your son's property. Even the fact that the sister just expected her son to still get it amazes me. Let the entire family know what happened. Post it on Facebook, make a YouTube video, and hire a skywriter if you have to. I don't know if the family is blind to the sister's and nephew's actions, but this needs to be brought to light. Also, I'd really like to add that just grabbing the gift in front of them is the most badass moves I've seen in one of these. I straight up applaud it. This up. I hope you took pictures of the broken system. If you did, post them on Facebook so everyone can see what your nephew did. Also a picture of the floor if there's any damage from the console smashing on it. Throwing any console down from a second story will have damaged the floor as well, unless it was carpeted, but carpet would have rescued the system at least somewhat by absorbing shock. Any damage to walls or floor needs to be documented. And did not even attempt an apology. WTF, she's your sister. I cannot imagine treating anyone that way or letting my son be such in a hole. Worse. She blamed original post for her son destroying it because it was her fault that the kids were not supervised. Never mind that a 13-year-old should not need supervision on a game console played from home. Unless there's internet access / multiplayer things going on, of course. 13-year-olds sure as hell need to be monitored on that. NTA, if your sister is known for this, it's worrisome that the family is taking her side without getting the other side of the story. She's probably like this because she is the special golden child, so deserves more of everything than anyone else. Everyone should always go out of their way to make her life better. Yeah, let the truth fly and get her the reality check she needs. I'm glad you stood up for your son, but you need to also stand up for yourself. Wreck that monster. Not the butthole. Time to get ahead of her with a social media post about all of it. Tag everyone. Take photos of the console as proof. Oh dude, she totally told them his son was the one who smashed the system, insisted of her own. They were just playing and someone stepped on the console while they were roughhousing around. My son says it was her son that did it, but her son is saying it was my son and now she's trying to make me pay for it. What a meanie. That's a perfect response. NTA op. NTA, your sister's terrible parenting ruined her kid's Christmas. Fixed it. NTA. Your sister just disrespected you and your child and doesn't care enough to discipline hers. Her son will grow up to be an entitled jerk. You did nothing wrong, just taught them a lesson, that I hope they learn, probably won't, though. My nephew isn't a terrible kid all the time, but he has some serious rage issues. My sister refuses to listen to reason and won't give him help. The school board even tried to step in, but now she just homeschools him instead. Oh Lord. This is not going to end well. Yep. Never seeing them again is not a worst-case scenario here. Yeah. If you do, never leave your nephew and your son unsupervised again. Just never let them in the house. Meet at the sister's house if they ever see each other again. But still don't let the son go off alone with the nephew. Throwing a game console the way he did is a willful act of violence. My guess is this is only going to escalate. How long until he's throwing people? Especially since in the nephew's mind, he will blame his cousin and original post for ruining things. He won't take responsibility, just like his mom. The poor kid never had a chance. Seconding this. Nephew is now old / big enough to do serious harm to Op's son. I would never see the sister / nephew at all, much less let them alone again. It might even be a best-case scenario. What if he gets dangerous and decides to hurt his nephew? Cousin. He is going to end up hurting your sister, in my opinion. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. He seriously needs help. Yeah, the sister is missing the giant waving red flags? The sis who is a red flag? Herself, telling original post they will not see them anymore, maybe good thing. The nephew needs help that he will likely never get. His mommy is seeing things through rose-colored glasses? Which make red flags just look like flags. Edit, clarity. This is how hit podcasts about serial killers are born. Excuse me, she is the red flags. Well, I guess it's a fair point that a red flag wouldn't be concerned about a flock of red flags, because red flags that wave together stay together. It's not the kid's fault, though. Rage like that usually means a kid is being badly abused at home, and if this is what she's like in public. Gesh. I hear what you're saying, and I want to toss in my experience that is another facet of this rage. My older brother has always had that rage. He'd slam his fist into the wall next to my head, punching a hole in the wall. He was the type to hold you underwater until you were sure you were going to die. My dad, a pediatrician, said that when my brother was born, he He seemed enraged, tightly clenched fists and screaming. My parents weren't abusive. We'd get spanked, but that was the generational approach to discipline. Sometimes, rage isn't based on abuse. My ex-husband had rage problems. I believe that rage is how his depression manifested. Rage like that usually means a kid is being badly abused at home. I wouldn't go nearly so far as to say usually. I have struggled with anger issues, they stem from my depression. My little brother had serious rage meltdowns, especially when younger. They came from his ADHD/Asperger's. My husband still struggles with anger due to his ADHD. None of us were abused. Anger can come from a lot of different sources, and automatically trying to link it to abuse is very far-fetched. I have a cousin who would routinely break other cousins' toys when we were younger, because she was either jealous or just wanted to be the only person with a certain toy. She was just coddled/raised by an extremely entitled mother. Not even spoiled in the sense that she got whatever she wanted, more so just allowed to do whatever because, well, it's not her fault. She wasn't abused, just raised poorly. That sounds like the case here, in my opinion. Rage issues, plus the laughter at the destroyed game system are huge red flags. If something isn't done, your nephew is going to hurt someone. Possibly in the next few years. Going no contact with your sister and your nephew might be safer for your son, to be honest. Update us when your nephew flies into a rage and kills someone, because that is exactly where this is heading. What a effing leap, laughing my butt off. Honestly, this kind of behavior is textbook indication for trouble later in life. He may not ever kill someone, but I would not be shocked if he becomes the kind of man who beats his partner. It isn't. If you don't get those issues resolved in childhood, then it leads to serial killers. He's 13. It may already be too late, especially since the sister is being nonchalant about the behavior and trying to blame other kids for him being a massive brat. Massive effing leaps, this sub. Well, that's a family doomed to a lifetime of effed upness. Hope she's saving up for his bail/legal fees. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.